If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets, unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest caliber.
And we're back. I'm Chris Evan. I'm the CEO of Survival Dispatch. Appreciate you all tuning in tonight. The rest of the crew has got tonight off, so you're stuck with just me. The main topic of the night is going to be the debacle or the ongoing disagreements at the highest level between, call it MAGA people and Elon Musk on H1B visas. And other than that, we're going to jump right in quickly. Just one announcement. The briefs, sit reps for each day at the very end, in addition to the restricted section, we've added a partner discount section. So there's some products there that we like, we endorse, and there's links and there's discount codes. Sometimes discount codes built right in the link. You don't have to do anything, but anything in that section of the brief, we can get behind. We support it. So speaking of sponsors, CCW Safe, Sawyer Products, Native Hydrate, and Flex Industries are sponsoring this episode and most of our episodes. All right, let's jump right in on the H1B stuff. The first one that I have is from Charlie Kirk. It is 1 minute and 48 seconds long. I'm probably going to play the entire video because it does a pretty good job of laying out where things have gone.
American workers are losing jobs because of a law designed to help the job market. The H1B visa bill was written in 1990. It lets companies recruit foreign talent for emerging engineering and scientific jobs. But loopholes allow for outsourcing of American jobs to foreign workers, often at lower pay. Bill Whitaker spoke to some Americans displaced by H1B visa workers for Sunday's 60 Minutes. They say they were asked to train workers who would take their jobs.
All right. So that kind of sets the stage for the gist of tonight's episode. Of course, the first 10 minutes or so, we're going to give the Cliff Notes version for those people who are on a tighter timeline and they want to jet after getting just the high level notes. And then we'll go into chapter 1 and we'll expand on it. But this whole H1B visa thing is going to be used by the left and the Democrats to drive a wedge between Trump and Elon, which they've already been trying to do, number one. Number two, for the most part, I support Elon Musk and I like what he's done for freedom of speech. But as you all have heard me say over and over again, by no means do I agree with 100% of the stuff that he does or gets behind. H1B visas would be one of those things that I disagree on. America first means America first. It doesn't mean let's go hire somebody from another country and pay them less money. So specific to the tech industry, and we're going to discuss stuff outside the tech industry as well, because just as that video mentioned, there's a lot of loopholes in H1B, the process to bring people in to be, say, a bookkeeper for a McDonald's franchise, those sort of things, jobs that should absolutely be given to Americans, but they can get the foreigners at a far cheaper rate. So just quickly on the tech side of things, and again, I was in high tech for many, many years. If you pay them peanuts, they'll send you monkeys. So when you pay less money for these H1B systems engineers and programmers from India, Pakistan, and other areas, you do not get the same productivity and the same quality that you get if you hire Americans. So let me give you an example. My good friend Jeff O'Donnell was the very astute programmer who wrote the software that we used on election night that pulled all of the data from Edison in real time. So all voting precincts in the country send their information to Edison, and then people pay a lot of money to have access to it. It's not a website that you go to. It's a database where you're pulling stuff by API, application programming interface. Took Jeff 2 years to build that software. any of you who were with us on election night know that we were an hour ahead of everybody else, including the mainstream media. And the software was super impressive, especially under load. The volume of data that was going through Jeff's server was just insane. Servers, plural. So what I'm getting at is Jeff O'Donnell is a great example of an old school white guy, American programmer who loves what he does, gets very personally vested in it, and creates incredibly high quality software. When we hire these H1Bs from overseas, you know, you could pay them as little as 25, 30% of what it would cost for a tech worker here in America. So when you're talking numbers that are that different, basically what this boils down to is companies will say, well, you know, the team in India is not as good as our team here in America, but because we're paying pennies on the dollar, that's okay. And we'll have somebody just come behind them and kind of clean up all the little things that they miss. And again, I have a lot of experience working with Indian and Pakistani companies. They also have a very different culture when it comes to pride in their work and some other stuff as well, which isn't relevant to H1B that I won't get into and derail us on. Suffice it to say, my position on this, just to be perfectly clear right out of the gate, is I do not support H1Bs for any industry, any vertical, unless there is an absolute shortage of talent that you can show. And I certainly don't support it outside of the tech industry. It was always intended to be used by the tech industry. There are other programs like an O visa, for example, that can be used where you can say, hey, I've got this person in India to have this skill set. It's virtually non-existent here in America, and therefore I want to bring them in on this O visa. That's an acceptable usage policy. And y'all may recall that I've said more than once that we need to turn the tables on the liberals and their immigration practices. So the liberals want to flood the country with illegals from third world countries who will vote for them forever because Democrats don't breed. You know, the birth rate for registered Democrats has been doing a nosedive for many years. So if they don't import people to vote for them, they'll have nobody to vote for them. But what I'm getting at on that front is that, you know what? I don't have my pad of paper beside me. I got to fess up here. I'm having one of my episodes of sometimers. I don't have Alzheimer's, but I get sometimers. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I forget. And I can't remember exactly where I was going with that argument. So we'll carry on from there, and we'll jump into the very next thing here on next post here. So I don't know who this person is, but the more you read about H1B visas, the more evident the scam becomes. It's about controlling wage growth and maintaining a compliant workforce. The supposed safeguards on prevailing wages and requirement for jobs to be first offered to Americans are literally never enforced by design. And that is a truthful and accurate statement. We're now in the situation where H1B is just a way for people, you know, to get cheaper labor. And yeah, again, the quality is not as high as if they paid more money for an American to do the job, but it's so cheap, it's worth them spending that little bit extra. There's another angle of this as well, which is the failure of our education system. So 1979, 1977, when Jimmy Carter started the Department of Education, we were ranked #1 in the world for mathematics amongst elementary and high school children, middle school as well. We're now ranked 24th, 25th, 29th, something way, way down. The Department of Education's been an abject failure. And as a result of that, the talent pool in America is not as large as what it used to be, relatively speaking. All right. So next tab up here is from Elon Musk himself. Pardon me. The reason I'm in America, along with so many critical people who built SpaceX, Tesla, and hundreds of other companies that made America strong, is because of H1B. Take a big step back and fuck yourself in the face. I will go to war on this issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend. I think that's a little over the top, Elon's response, but it also tells you that he's made a lot of money off of abusing the H1B visa program. And he basically lets the cat out of the bag that people in his economic bracket, all of them, have exploited the H1B visas. And I will always come back to, it's America first, period. And if it's not America first, then I have a problem with it. On the upside, I don't believe in hanging people because of one or two disagreements. I disagree with Elon vehemently here, but he has done a lot for freedom of speech, which I'll give him props for. He probably saved us, from another botched election, stolen election. Here's another thread with Elon in it. Those who contemplate fools must be removed from the Republican Party, root and stem. The contemptible fools I'm referring to are those in the Republican Party who are hateful, unrepentant racists. They will absolutely be the downfall of the Republican Party if they are not removed. Ian Miles Chong, some of these subtards are going to be incredibly disappointed to find out that you're not a racist like they are. Elon's final response: the point was not to replace DEI, which is one form of racism, sexism, with a different form of racism, sexism, but rather to a meritocratic society. So I have a serious problem with the way this conversation is being framed. It is not racist to say that you want America to be first, period, full stop. That is a false narrative that was created years ago on the part of the Democrats. The rhinos have adopted it, and it's complete and utter bullshit. As an employer for many, many years, as a boss for many, many years, everything's got to be based on merit. If things are not based on merit, you give people participation trophies, then you end up with garbage productivity, garbage quality, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what's being done here in taking jobs away from Americans and giving them to foreigners at significant pay cuts, that's not an America first process. That's not an American first thing that I can get behind. So here's Donald Trump's position. This was March 3rd, 2016. But just before I sat down in my office, I noticed that Trump has released a statement saying he was always in favor of H1B. I have not had a chance to study it, but I will go back and have a look at it. But here's what his thoughts were in 2016. Megyn Kelly asked about highly skilled immigration. The H1B program is neither high skilled nor immigration. These are temporary foreign workers imported from abroad for the explicit purpose of substituting for American workers at lower pay. I remain totally committed to eliminating rampant, widespread H1B abuse and ending the outrageous practices such as those that occurred at Disney in Florida when Americans were forced to train their foreign replacements. I will end forever the use of H1B as a cheap labor program and institute an absolute requirement to hire American workers first for every visa and immigration program, no exceptions. So based on that, that doesn't seem to me very congruent with this headline that I'm getting ready to pull up for you here. Give me 1 second, because this was not part of the program. But here's the headline. Mega headache. Trump: I have always been in favor of H1B visas. It's a great program. Well, based on the tweet that he made in 2016, that's a bald-faced lie. That's complete bullshit. And as much as I love Donald Trump and respect Elon Musk, and I'm thankful for what they've done for our country, man, they're both stepping on their dick in this one. And he should have stuck to his guns. America first means America first. It doesn't mean let's give all these jobs to foreigners by abusing the H1B visa ruling. And H1Bs honestly need to go away. We have other programs, as I've already mentioned, like the O visa, which recognizes people from foreign countries that have skills that we don't have here. So if you're wondering where people's heads are at on this subject, 60% of Americans say U.S. does not need any more H1B visa workers. So that's our initial take on it. And for those of you who can't stay with us any longer, those are the high level points. Okay. So Elon is very much in favor of H1B visas and using that to hire people from around the world. And he says, if you disagree with him, you're racist. Bullshit. Donald Trump is now saying that he's always supported H1B. That's not truthful. I'm disappointed in both of them, but I'm fond of the saying that I eat my own dog food. So there've been certain people who've come on our show and said, I'll never support Donald Trump because he did X. And none of us are perfect. Donald Trump's certainly not perfect. And I've always taken them to task and said, look, nobody's going to be perfect. You can't nuke somebody based on one decision unless it's something really, really egregious. So for example, as much as, I respect Elon Musk, if it were to come back that he's on the Diddy list or was on the Epstein list and had been to Epstein Island multiple times, that my support for him would end absolutely immediately. But squabbling over this stuff here, this stuff's not even worth squabbling over. Does it matter to me that Elon and Donald Trump stepped on their dick big time in the past 48 hours? Yeah, it does bother me. But my follow-up to people who have said, oh, Donald Trump did this one thing, I'm never going to vote for him or never going to support him again. My response is, who are you going to vote for? Nikki Haley? Mike Johnson? Paul Ryan? Who are you going to support that's a better choice? So a very good example of what our entire company at Survival Dispatch has been saying, that we're thankful for Elon and we're thankful for Trump, but they are far from perfect. And we actually said as recently as a couple nights ago that there's no question we were going to see mistakes made on the Trump administration's part. Little did I expect it to happen so quickly, but also don't expect it to be, as bad as it was in the first tenure, Donald Trump 1.0, bringing in people like John Bolton, who's just a complete shitbag, massive, massive mistake. But overall, Trump's first tenure was pretty good. So again, for those of you who have to jet, that's it for our top story as far as the high level overview is concerned. Now we're going to dive into the topic in a little bit more detail. And we'll start here with this post on X. Some companies, including Apple and Cisco, source H-1B workers through third-party Indian IT outsourcing firms, hiring rudimentary workers with questionable qualifications as contractors to replace American employees. The outsourcing firms profit by pocketing the difference between what they pay the H-1B workers and what Apple pays for the contracts. So check this out, though. Wells Fargo. So I suppose you could argue that they're in the fintech industry, but for all intents and purposes, let's call them, a bank. Call them what they are. Verizon, AT&T, Apple, all tech companies. Citigroup, again, they're financial, but you could make an argument that they're maybe in fintech. Same goes for PNC. Comcast, I think where Comcast has evolved to, they're less in the tech bucket and more in the media bucket. American Express, same thing. Financial institution, maybe a slight, chance of calling them fintech. Cisco, tech company. Anthem Inc., not a tech company. So the problem with this, again, is that we're taking foreign workers, and it was originally intended to be tech workers, but we're doing it across all these different verticals now. We're cutting the pay for these jobs, and we're laying off Americans in the process. I have a good friend of mine. His name's Rob Meeks, and he was really high up at a company called Invar Manufacturing. And Invar was owned by I think it was called Linium, if memory serves me right. We're going back about 20 years here. And he was told that his plant was going to close. They were going to send him off to another plant in Paducah, Kentucky. And he was going to go to China for 6 months and teach the Chinese how to manufacture all the stuff at this plant that they were closing down. And man, he's got awesome integrity. He said, I'm not doing it. And they said, well, if you don't do it, you're fired. And he said, you can't fire me. I quit and walked out the door. And he refused to be part of that process. That knowledge transfer is the one person mentioned in that video. Unfortunately, most people put themselves first. And if they have a chance to make money at the detriment to the country, we know how that goes. All right. So moving on to the next one here. Got just a ton of tabs on the go. I'm trying to get through them as quickly as I can without missing any of the important things here. So tech bros losing H1B arguments on their own free speech platform. As mentioned on chat, these tech bros are self-destructing and Trump hasn't even been sworn in. Just wait until they start arguing amongst themselves. So this is the post that I already read earlier from Elon telling people to go fuck themselves in the face. And now things get even more interesting, sideways, whatever you want to say it. So Laura Loomer, to those of you getting messages saying that I deactivated my X subscriptions, that's a lie. I didn't. Elon Musk took away my premium account tonight, limited my character limit, and canceled my subscriptions because I spoke out about mass migration. It's retaliatory censorship. If that is in fact true, that is a pretty big mark against Elon. And I'll tell you what, as many of you know, people who follow us on a regular basis, I've been suspended on X 3 times this year. All 3 times I mentioned that a particular individual in the federal government was 3 times 3 different people, needed to be charged, tried, and convicted of treason and to face the maximum penalty, which we all know what that is. In return for me saying that, I got banned by X, suspended by X, because I was fomenting violence. But as I've said the past 2 nights in a row, the purple-haired, blue-haired, pink-haired freaks can say that they hope that the next assassin, has better aim and splatters Donald Trump brains. They don't get nuked off the platform. What's my point? My point is that there's a ton of woke code still under the hood on X. And it is not being taken out, and it's not being cleaned up. And there is a prejudice against people on the right still showing up on X. Elon Musk was a Democrat for many years. I didn't expect that his positions would change on everything overnight. But now we've got something even worse. Now we're talking a character, okay? So it's bad enough that he's exploited the H1B program and says he'll go to war over that. It's a whole other thing. Laura Loomer is right more times than she's not. Maybe she's a little bit high-strung at times, but she's not the only person that's been affected like this. Owen Schroer was affected by this as well, which is from AJ's team. So I'm going to reserve 100% judgment, but I'll tell you what, my inclination is that she's right. And that's exactly what he did. So next tab that I've got pulled up here on X is go away on Christmas break for only 2 days and come back and find some have lost their minds. Doge, Department of Government Efficiencies, so Vivek and Elon can go eat a bag of dicks with their more H1B nonsense. Am I right? And the meme, which has a serious element of truth, if India is chock full of brilliant engineers, why don't they stay and fix India first? So a little bit of a side anecdotal study. So I was at Nortel Networks supporting one of their labs at one point in time, again, 20 years ago. And my team was managing over 70,000 servers in this facility. And I was on site 1 day per week, every Thursday. And I would sit in my office and my crew, I had a really big office, so my crew would be with me. And I had a perfect view of the men's restroom, and I could watch the janitors go in the men's restroom, clean it up, and leave. And if I got in there immediately after them, it was spotless, as you would expect. But if I got hung up on a conference call or hung up in a meeting and a half hour, 45 minutes went by, I could go in that restroom, and I kid you not, there was shit on the floor, shit on the walls, shit on the ceilings, shit on the stalls, because the Indians that were working on H1B visas for Nortel Networks, they eat with one hand, they wipe their ass with the other hand, and they don't believe in using toilets. Eventually what happened is they had to put in a traditional Indian bathroom, which is essentially a hole in the floor where they all back up to it and do their business. And you know what? There's a big difference between these H1B workers than Americans. And if I'm racist for saying that, so be it. But I know what I witnessed with my own two eyes, and it was not a good scene. All right, so moving on to the next one here. Elon Musk revokes Laura Loomer's blue check mark over H1B visa feud. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. At Laura Loomer story below. I'm not sure who this guy, Dr. CZ, is directing his comments at. I don't really care, to be honest with you, but he has, I believe, jumped to the conclusion that that's exactly what happened. Again, I'm 99% of the way there, but I'm not all the way there to say that Elon actually did this. It could have been one of the underlings. It could have been a piece of code where an algorithm got tripped. I don't know. I suspect we will find out, though. But if he was directly involved in shutting her down, that's just bad stuff. There's no other way to put it. So moving on to the next one here, we've actually got some audio here of Steve Bannon discussing this with Laura Loomer. It's only 1 minute and 21 seconds long. I'm going to play the whole thing.
Laura, real quickly, he's a free speech absolutist. The platform's supposed to be about free speech absolutism. What is your current status, ma'am? What has happened to you on that platform?
Well, if he's a free speech absolutist, why was my account suspended? Why was my verified premium account taken away from me? So if you subscribe to me, thank you for your support, but you will no longer be able to subscribe to me because Elon Musk has suspended your ability to support my work because he doesn't like what I said. If you want to verify that my account is me and it's not some troll trying to pretend to be me, you're not going to be able to verify my account anymore because I have lost my verification, my blue check, because Elon Musk doesn't like what I said. I didn't dox anybody. I posted publicly available FEC records. I didn't incite violence against anybody. I am simply trying to warn the Trump administration about something that is going to blow up in their face. And it actually has the risk of potentially getting President Trump impeached in his second term if the Democrats take back the House and are successfully able to spin and create a narrative that big tech is trying to buy influence and that they are enriching themselves in the Trump administration. I'm trying to warn them about a serious issue on the horizon, and it needs to be taken seriously because clearly the MAGA base is up in arms about this today.
And again, if her reports are accurate, and I'm inclined to believe that they are, this is a serious problem. It does not show integrity at all. So moving on to the next tab. Essentially, what employers sponsoring H-1B visas are doing is selecting the lowest prevailing wage rate on the labor condition application, level 1 and 2, when it's not reflective of the skill level of the foreign worker or true market rate. Wage arbitrage. So here's an actual application made for somebody to work at Citibank, and they've checked level 2, prevailing wages listed at $62,000. Well, that person probably by all rights belongs in level 3, level 4, but because they put them in level 2, they get to pay them less money, and they can say, well, we just can't find any Americans to fill this role. So they're not held to account on saying that there's no Americans available when there are, and therefore they get to take advantage of this cheap labor pool. It's a mess, to be quite frank. So next one up, Elon Musk agrees with Scott Jennings' proposal on H-1B visas. The proposal: reform and restrict the current H-1B system. No more abuse, no choosing foreigners and jobs easily filled by qualified Americans. Accept the proven geniuses, the top 0.1 to 1% from other nations, siphoning the top of the top away from our competitors. And Elon's response is one word: yes. And I mean, I don't know if he's playing both ends towards the middle or what the case may be, but I thought this was kind of strange. He's gone nuclear on people in the past 48 hours over this, and all of a sudden he agrees to a very reasonable solution to this, which I happen to agree with. Y'all have heard me say we should be taking top talent, not people from third world countries. We should be taking top talent from other developed countries, but we got to put America first. And this policy would agree with that. So it's the reason I'm kind of at 99% holding on to judgment, but 99% of my gut tells me that Elon's out of line on this. And I don't know if he did that just for, visibility's sake, for political purposes, or what. Moving on to the next one from Jim Hansen. The argument about H1B visas highlights the failure of our education system. That will take generations to fix, and we must. In the meantime, we need to stop H1B as a cheap labor cheat, but not destroy our ability to bring in high performers. So there is an element of truth to what this guy is saying. What Jim's saying is that our education system has failed us to a large extent. But I can tell you right now that there's all kinds of middle-aged white guys who are really good programmers struggling to find work, because as soon as it's discovered that they're a white male, they're automatically disqualified for the running, especially in tech companies that are hardcore DEI proponents. Y'all may recall me telling the story of DuckDuckGo. So, Google's a shit search engine. It just feeds bullshit narratives. The whole thing was started by the CIA. It's still controlled by the CIA. Go look it up if you don't believe me. So people started using DuckDuckGo thinking, well, this is a good alternative. Well, I want to say 2-3 years ago with DuckDuckGo, a middle-aged white guy, very accomplished programmer, sends in his CV and nothing, crickets, doesn't get any response to the email, no phone calls, no nothing. So he takes his CV and resume and he changes it so that he's a younger black girl, sends it in, almost instantly gets a response. And instead of going through this gauntlet, which, most of the time you're put through when you go to work for somebody in high tech, they were basically like, how soon can you start? And they were trying to fill a DEI role. So if a search engine is willing to do that, chances are the content's not very good. My litmus test is I go to a search engine and type in something like, can men have babies? And if it comes back and says, yes, they can, then I know it's a bullshit platform. The results are going to be, congruent with these crazy narratives. My favorite search engine, Yandex, YANDEX.com. And second to that would be Brave Search. But Brave Search isn't a traditional search engine. They do have some indexes of their own, but generally speaking, they rely on results from other search engines to put together what they present to you. Now, they do a great job on the privacy side, so there's something to be said for that. All right, next one up. It might seem odd to some people, but you are allowed to agree with some things while disagreeing on others. Alienating Musk over one single issue is about the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I don't agree with Trump 100% of the time, but that didn't stop me from voting for him. And so this is the point, that I've made multiple times. You can't expect someone to be perfect and get every single thing correct. But in this case, if Elon did go after Laura Loomer and other conservatives because they did not agree with his stated position on H1B visas, that's an integrity issue. And I have reservations over that. And I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too much, but I can tell you that I still have one foot in the high-tech world, and that my team is getting ready to do a very exciting project where we're going to take the open source code from X, the open source code from Blue Sky, and we're going to build a platform to go to war with these guys on that will be 100% censorship free unless it's illegal activity or pornography. Everything else will go. I'll give you more details as we get going, but this project is literally starting next week. And there are a handful of us on the core team that are super excited that the owner of this platform, who's a super guy and has very deep pockets, has given us the opportunity to build something to go to war with these guys on. And it's a pretty exciting development, and I can't wait to tell you all more about it. All right, back on topic here. Anyways, Amazon just had 9,200 warehouse jobs be approved for H1B for 2020. Yes, because retail trade, warehouse labor, is the best of the best and definitely can't be filled by your average American. I mean, this is some crazy stuff. Here's the whole petition, the number approved. This is not what H1B was intended for. H1B was intended to get people who had technical skills into America because we had a supposed shortfall of people, whereas it's being used to pay people less money. And again, you pay them peanuts to send you monkeys. But here's the deal. There are programmers in India. If you pay them $5 an hour, they live like kings. That puts them in the upper echelon of their society over there. And so even though that guy at $5 an hour isn't as qualified as somebody like Jeff O'Donnell that I mentioned, you can send a cleanup crew behind him to fix any mistakes he made and still be way ahead of the game. And this stuff here, like Amazon, 9,200 warehouse jobs, and these are jobs where Americans would typically be paid in the range of $20 an hour, if memory serves me right, which still is difficult enough to even survive on that. But either way, the program is being abused. It's been abused for years, and it continues to be abused. And I guess if you follow the money, you get your answers, right? And so if Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and other people at their level are in support of H1B, that's a bit of a red flag for me. Anyway, moving on. Looked at the H1B database for my company and saw a senior level engineering position paying only $95,000. I know for a fact this role pays $120,000 plus for non-visa holders. It's absolutely about cheap labor. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. So yeah, you pay them peanuts, they send you monkeys. I know I've repeated this a few times. You don't get as high a quality, but the delta is so great on the money savings that companies are all over it. They abuse this process. Check this out. A math teacher in Boston under H1B earns less than a fast food worker. Again, H1B abuse revolves around cheap labor. So check out some of these positions right here. Math teacher, $31,620. Here's another one. Math teacher, $26,510. Another one, $26,510. How do you live on $26,000 a year? I mean, this is downright abusive on the part of the counties hiring teachers at that level. And when they say we have to bring these people in because we don't have the talent and they'll do jobs Americans won't do, what American teacher is going to work for $26,000 a year? That's insanity. It's again, follow the money, just incredible corruption going on here. All right, next one up from Grant Cardone. And if you downloaded our brief, by the way, so patreon.com/survival dispatch, you get a highly curated daily newspaper, for lack of a better term. And it's the same document that everybody on our panel gets when we're conducting live episodes, which is 7 days a week at 7 p.m. Eastern. So I put a comment in the brief as I was writing it today, and I said, final word to Grant Cardone. Well, that's not true. There's more coming after this, but it's a pretty important point. So the reason H1B is required is because our education system failed our kids. America ranks 13th in reading, 18th in math and science, while India and China emphasize STEM. America promotes liberal arts and diversity inclusion. DEI bullshit instead of MEI stuff. So check this headline out here. A majority of migrant workers employed with H1B visas are paid below medium wages. Large tech firms, including Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, use visa program to underpay workers. So like I said, I was going to end on that, but I found some additional stuff that I thought it was important to put up here. So Elon Musk stripped away my verification. I paid for it and respectfully disagreeing with H1B visas. Let's see how Grok thinks this may be a form of censorship on this platform. And clearly an eye test if you're on a phone. So I'll read it. But Grok is Elon Musk's AI engine that's built into X. And if you're an X premium subscriber, you can use Grok for all kinds of things. Sometimes we use it to draw AI generated thumbnail images, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the question. How might stripping away someone's verification badge on X affect free speech on the platform? Please condense each answer into one line each. All right, so here's what Grok says. Losing verification might lead to self-censorship due to perceived punishment for speech. Number two, removing verification increases skepticism, potentially reducing open dialogue. Number 3, less visibility for non-verified accounts might be seen as censorship, deterring free speech. So one of the value adds that they list when you sign up for an X Premium account is that your comments and your posts will be featured more often, that people will get to see them more so than if you weren't a subscriber. Number 4, verification loss shifts power dynamics, possibly impacting groups' expression, it should say, of freedom. It balances accountability with freedom, but might chill speech if inconsistently applied. Users might retreat to echo chambers, limiting diverse discourse. And the final one, economic barriers to verification could create disparities in free speech visibility. So it's pretty easy to weaponize the verification of somebody on X against, suppressing them, for lack of a better term. And again, I'm like this close to believing the claims. I have not heard Elon address it yet. I'm kind of waiting for that. And maybe he can convince me that it was something that happened at the algorithm level. It wasn't something where there was intervention, but I suspect it was the latter. And if he comes clean on it, that's one thing. If he doesn't come clean on it, we find out unequivocally, because what will happen is somebody will leave X and say, here's the code, here's the things that happen, here's the internal emails, et cetera, et cetera. The truth always comes out. So check this out. 4 lines here, okay? So you've got 3 white guys and 1 non-white guy on this hiring board for this company. So the 3 white guys, I want to hire the most qualified candidate, and the other one wants to hire his own people. So now you've got 2 white people and 2 non-white people. And the 2 white people, I want to hire the most qualified candidate. And on the other side, I want to hire my own people. And then you go down to the next one here where you've got 1 white guy who still wants to hire the most qualified candidate. And then you've got the 3 non-white guys over here. I want to hire my own people. And now you end up with all 4 of them not being white. I want to hire my own people. I've witnessed multiple companies being bought by Indian and Pakistani companies. And there was one instance, it was a tech company as well, that had done very well. And I knew their chief operating officer, and she got paid a lot of money, but she was really, really good at what she did. And she said, I don't know what to do here. They're asking me, to assume these additional responsibilities, but they're telling me my job is safe, blah, 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 blah. And I said to her, you need to find another job ASAP. And she was in the process of looking for a job, but didn't quite get there in time. And sure enough, they escorted all of them out of the building a few days later and fired them. And of course, replace them like this. So, everybody wants to accuse the white guy of being racist, but it works both ways. All right. So check this out. And I don't care about conspiracy theories about man on the moon and stuff. Just roll with us. Okay. So you got man on the moon. You got the baddest of the baddest aircraft carriers in the world. You've got the Hoover Dam, and you've got an interstate system unlike anything any other country has. This collage of pictures, the person who posted on X basically said, do a quick search on X for H1B, and you'll get all kinds of bullshit related to undercutting American salaries with H1B visa. So when getting the labor at such cheap a price, quality can afford to be sacrificed to a certain extent. Big tech has exploited this for many years. And then the final word on this picture, all of this existed before H1B visas. And my response to that is, yeah, no shit. I was there. I grew up with that being the case. So that's the end of chapter 1. We're going to continue to track and follow this H1B visa gong show. But right now, I've got a short message from one of our sponsors, Sawyer Products, and I'll be right back.
The Sawyer Mini is the most versatile personal filtration system available. It's a perfect solution for backpacking, hiking, hunting, fishing, scouting, international travel, and emergency preparedness. At a mere 2 ounces, the Mini fits in the palm of your hand and can filter up to 100,000 gallons of water from any freshwater lake, river, or stream. The Sawyer Mini has a 0.1 micron absolute pore size. It was tested to 10 million parts of bacteria and 1 million parts of protozoa without a single breakthrough. This is the highest level filters can be tested to, so we're confident these are the highest rates of filtration available.
All right, so we're into chapter 2 now. This is where we cover headlines other than the main story, things that caught our attention. Normally, I've got a full panel here, and I pass one off to each person, but I'll stick handle them myself. So first one up here is very disturbing. Breaking: a person has been set on fire at Penn Station in Manhattan, New York City. Governor Kathy Hochul, you still claiming your city is safe. So this was the night before last, and the details have not been really clear on this, but I'll play part of this video before we move on. From what I've read, this is where the person was actually on fire, where you saw the stuff on the side of the walkway. So suffice it to say, large law enforcement, contingent there. Again, the details are pretty skinny on this one. Basically, I actually saw one that said, "Man catches fire," and thinking to myself, well, we don't have all the details, but normally when they say something like that, it's to cover up the fact that somebody like an illegal invader set the poor person on fire. So here's a little bit more information. Emergency response after person set on fire at Penn Station. Penn Station, by the way, the busiest public transit building, station, whatever you want to call it, in the entire world. Emergency services in New York City responded to an incident at Penn Station where a person sustained burn injuries. The individual was found near an escalator and received immediate medical attention. Authorities are investigating the circumstances surrounding the event, with MTA police reviewing CCTV footage for more details. And as you can see, last updated 22 hours ago, but we do not have more details. So can't say unequivocally that this was like the girl who was set on fire. If it is, that is pretty disturbing. And this could turn into something maybe like the knockout game where people are trying to, do the thing, whatever it is, in this case, setting people on fire, which is just, it's mind numbing. So this video is 13 minutes long. Clearly, I'm not going to play the whole video. Go to patreon.com/survival dispatch, download the brief there, and you can, all the links are in the brief. You can watch this stuff at your leisure. I will play just the beginning of this so people get the gist of it.
Now, we are following a developing story coming in out of New York City. Take a look right here. NYPD now confirming to Live Now from Fox that a man is in critical condition after police responded to a report of a person on fire inside Penn Station. By the way, Penn Station is the busiest transportation facility in the country. The NYPD saying they responded around 8 last night to a man on fire where they found a 67-year-old man with burn injuries to both legs and his upper body. Now, we did learn he was rushed to a hospital with injuries that the fire department says were deemed life-threatening. Police say the investigation is ongoing and no arrests at this point have been made. And of course, you probably are familiar with this case at this point, because this comes just days after a sleeping woman was set on fire, burned alive in a Brooklyn subway, killing her. A Brooklyn grand jury indicted Sebastian Zepeda on charges of murder and arson in that case. New York City Mayor Eric Adams has urged the feds to file federal charges against the Guatemalan native who ICE does confirm was in the country illegally. A lot to discuss here, and I do want to talk more about it. So let's bring in Kirk Burkhalter, the criminal law professor there over at New York Law School and a former NYPD detective. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
You're quite welcome.
All right, so first off, the big question here I have to ask you overall, what goes through your mind as you hear about another person being found essentially at a very busy location, and they do have burns. Obviously, there's concern there from a lot of people.
Oh my goodness, a lot goes through my mind. First, personally, I was about 100 yards or so from that very spot yesterday evening. My daughter and I went to a Broadway show, and we passed through that corridor, and I pass through that corridor all the time. So it's rather concerning because of the depravity of the act. And unfortunately, this is not something new. We see the homeless victimized all across the country, but in particular in our largest cities quite often. And it seems that it's often for entertainment, setting them on fire and such. It's just a horrible crime. So that's really what runs through my mind, just the depravity of the act of harming someone who is completely helpless and at one of the most vulnerable points of their lives.
It's incomprehensible that people could be evil enough to do this now on what's turning into a regular basis. And we'll be tracking this, and as we get more details, we'll share them with y'all on tomorrow night's episode or the night after, as soon as something hits. So next one up here, White House, 9th telecom firm hacked by Chinese spies. So this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. This really started getting visibility in February when there was the cyber attack on AT&T and to a lesser extent Verizon and T-Mobile. Of course, AT&T said it was due to a software update. We've debunked that many times over, and it was 100% a Chinese cyber attack. And then AT&T, admitted several months later that anybody who's ever had an account with AT&T, that their information was taken. So this is not going to stop. We're pretty good at going on the offense when it comes to cyber attack. We absolutely suck from a defensive position. So it's safe to assume that pretty much every piece of major infrastructure across the country, whether it be our power grid, data networks, voice networks, all the above, many municipal water supplies, et cetera, have been compromised by Chinese hackers. And the Chinese work very closely with the North Koreans and the Iranians, by the way. And they've got a tight little group called Typhoon something or other, and it's a black hat hackers group. If people aren't disturbed by this, then they're clearly not paying attention. But it wouldn't take much for the Chinese, who excel in irregular warfare, to completely shut down our communications across the entire country. We are in quite a situation, put it that way. So moving on to the next one here from the Department of Crazy. Exactly. Breaking, the CDC has just announced the first bird flu case showing mutations and are now warning we could see another pandemic. And I agree with AJ here. BS, an IQ test. I will not comply. I'm going to play the beginning of this, but hopefully I'm ahead of the curve a little bit here on the censorship on YouTube. But this is complete and utter bullshit. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Don't be fooled by this stuff. It worked for them last time around to nuke Donald Trump's presidency. Not a surprise that they would try to do this again, which, by the way, so this is the first case, right? So how come Gavin Newsom last week declared this a state of emergency in California?
Concerning new CDC report on the first severe human case of bird flu in the U.S. Samples taken from a patient in Louisiana show mutations that could make it easier for this virus to spread from person to person. Now, right now, there's no evidence it's been passed along to anyone else, and the CDC says risk to the public remains low. But experts warn a single mutation like this could potentially lead to another pandemic.
The virus may mutate and become more easily transmitted person to person. So the more this virus circulates, and specifically co-circulates with human strains, that's going to increase the odds of the virus evolving to more human-to-human transmission. And that of course, could signal another pandemic.
Join us now.
All right. So do me a favor, humor me on this. I want you, if you think that the establishment, whatever you want to call them, NWO cabal, is fixing to start another pandemic, put a 1 in the comment section. If you think it's legit on their part to start this, put a 2 in the comment section. I can't really keep track of all the comments when I'm hosting and the producer, et cetera, like I am tonight, but I'll keep an eye on it, and I'm dying to see what kind of numbers y'all put in there. So if you think this is BS, basically put a 1. And if you think it's truthful, put a 2. Let's see what happens over the next 10 minutes or so as far as people's responses. I'm looking up here to my screen for YouTube. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them are a 1. And then I got a 1/2 from somebody. So I'm guessing that means in between. And the ones are rolling in there. And I'm watching Rumble over here, and the ones are rolling in there. I have a suspicion that it's probably number 1 is going to be the winner. All right. In January 6th news, J6 news, massive class action lawsuit has been launched against the Department of Justice, seeking $50 billion for harms as a result of what the plaintiffs describe as 2-tiered justice. Actually just caught a glimpse of an interview with Joe Biden, and they asked him previously what his greatest regret was. And instead of saying something like, man, we botched the exit from Afghanistan and we lost 13 precious lives, he went on, some other tangent. Well, apparently somebody else asked him that question, and he said that his biggest mistake was hiring Merrick Garland to run the DOJ, to be, the attorney general. So we have not heard the end of J6 stuff, hoping that Donald Trump pulls through and honors his word to basically pardon all of the nonviolent J6ers immediately on day 1. And I suspect that this will be the first of many class action lawsuits. The other piece of this as well is that it's looking more and more likely that Liz Cheney and who's the little short guy, the little munchkin, Adam Kinzinger, are going to be taken to task on their role. I'd like to see Jamie Raskin included in that as well for what they've done. But it's funny because there are rumors that Liz Cheney actually reached out to the Biden admin requesting a pardon. Well, if you're innocent, you don't need a pardon. It's as simple as that. All right, next one. So last night we discussed potentially expanding America, buying Greenland from Denmark, and maybe bringing Canada on as the 51st state. If you watched last night, you know my opinion. I don't think bringing Canada as the 51st state is the right move. Bringing them on as a territory, though, would probably be much more palatable on both sides of that equation, and it would definitely make us the most powerful country on earth. The rumor is that Kevin O'Leary went to speak with Donald Trump, but I've seen nothing come out of that. It may possibly be in this video, but I didn't have a chance to listen to the whole video before we went live. Moving on to the next news item. You should expect to be shot. Florida sheriff backs armed homeowner after migrant killed during break-in. So this happened on the other side of our state, just east of Tampa, and 3 illegal aliens broke into a home, and the homeowner shot them. I want to say one guy walked away with no injuries, another guy was injured, and the third one was killed. And, we had a discussion on our Signal chat earlier today for our Survival Dispatch insiders. And from a laws and regulation perspective, Florida is the wild, wild west when it comes to things like stand your ground, castle doctrine, those sort of things. The sheriff came out and basically said, look, if you're a criminal, doesn't matter if you're domestic or an import, and you break into people's homes, you should expect to get shot. So unlike other states, I'll use Washington State as an example. You're not going to jail for killing somebody who's broken into your home here, like committed a home invasion like you are in Washington. I can't imagine not having the right to defend one's family, but apparently some people don't give a shit, or they wouldn't allow the government to abuse them like they do in Washington. All right, next one up. This is crazy. This really speaks to just how piss poor socialized medicine is. A father shares a shocking experience at a Canadian hospital, claiming he was told his child would be taken off life support, ending his life, with plans to harvest his organs. Determined to fight for his son, he transferred the child to a hospital in New Orleans. In just 30 days, the child made a miraculous recovery, breathing on his own, free of ventilators and out of intensive care. The father, now gathering evidence, says he has all the records from the Canadian hospital and plans to push for a full investigation. It's a 6-minute video. We'll just play the beginning.
Good day, everyone. Historical day for us, 26th of December, 30 days after leaving the Montreal children. 30 days. Our son is leaving the pediatric intensive care unit, one of the best hospitals in North America, Ochsner in New Orleans. An amazing, absolutely amazing pediatric intensive care unit. Our son, Arthur, who drowned October 8th, was at the Montreal Children. And at the Montreal Children Hospital, they said they would, and we have all the names and everything, and just watch out the next months and the weeks to come, what's gonna come. Just mark my words. We have the names of the people who have everything. These people wanted to unplug our son. Today, 30 days after leaving Montreal, where he was way overdrugged, they said to us he was good for garbage. They would harvest the organs and kill him, and they would unplug him as of November 29th. That's Quebec healthcare system for you.
Unbelievable. Almost incomprehensible what's happening in Canada with their healthcare system. All right, so bringing up the next one. If y'all didn't catch this, another $1.25 billion is being sent to Ukraine. Biden just sent another $1.25 billion to Ukraine and says he might send another $1.25 billion before the new year. Meanwhile, Americans are struggling with inflation, rising debt, and crumbling infrastructure. This isn't Ukraine. This is the United States. It's time to put America first. We can't keep funding foreign wars while our own citizens suffer. Let's demand accountability and action for our country. Watch the video and share your thoughts. Is this what you want your tax dollars being spent on? How dystopian is that? What a sorry statement on the state of our country. All right, moving on to the next one. This is on the Panama Canal. A security wake-up call. 25 years ago, declassified intelligence reports warned about China's growing influence in Panama. These reports revealed Beijing's strategic investments through Hutchison Whampoa, a company controlled by Hong Kong billionaire Li Ka-shing, which still operates ports on both ends of the Panama Canal. Here's what the reports said, which, by the way, if you go to this post on X, the images, the scans are included. All right, Li is directly connected to Beijing and willing to use his business influence to further the aims of the Chinese government. Li's interest in the canal is not only strategic, but also serves as a means for outside financial opportunities for the Chinese government. Beijing may use expanded investments as leverage to undermine Panama's diplomatic ties to Taiwan. Fast forward to today. China has continued to influence in Panama, and the ports will remain under Hutchison's Whampoa's control until at least 2046. Let's not forget that Panama has since severed diplomatic ties with Taiwan. President Trump was right to raise concerns about the Panama Canal. The question isn't if this strategic location matters. It's how long America will allow foreign influence to grow unchecked in critical regions like this. This is a really big deal that China, over decades now, has moved to constrain the Panama Canal. Imagine if they shut it down completely, what that would do to the exchange of goods. It would have absolutely unbelievable consequences. All right, moving on to the next one here. From the No Shit Department poll, overwhelming majority of Americans don't care about celebrities' political opinions. So this nonstop barrage of attacks on Trump, attacks on MAGA people, attacks on conservatives by these public personas is it's funny to see this blow up in their face. I can't even watch Robert De Niro or any of the other people who've gone way out of line. But what I can say is that my gut instinct is that each of these people who's gone hard against Trump is either on the Diddy list or the Epstein list or both lists, and it's being held over their head. All right, next one up here. So this is from Vernon Jones, and he's replying to Bishop Talbert Swan. So the bishop posted this. He said, Black president, y'all mad. Black vice president, y'all mad. Black Lives Matter, y'all mad. Vernon Jones's response was, Black people killing Black people, you ain't mad. Black children test scores horrible, you ain't mad. Black communities overrun by illegals, you ain't mad. Black rich people told Black people not to vote for rich white people, you ain't mad. Black people bamboozled to remain on white supremacist liberal Democrat plantations, you ain't mad. Black vice president said she washed her collard greens in her bathtub, you ain't mad. Vice president lied about being Black, you ain't mad. Joe Biden said, you ain't Black. If you don't vote for him, you ain't mad. In fact, you're happy. So the hypocrisy, absolutely unbelievable. The first one, Black people killing Black people, is the one that gets me. I can't remember what the exact numbers are today. I want to say somewhere around. So Blacks are 12-13% of the population. Out of that number, something like 3% are Black males, 18 to 40 years old ish, something like that. And so a very small percentage, 3% of the entire population. And yet they account for something like 60% of violent crime. And they account for something like 90% of violent crime against Black people. That's the big problem. When you ask them, how many Black people do you think were killed by cops last year? People will say, oh, thousands, 10,000 and stuff. And when it's typically 12, 15, 20, that's not an acceptable number. I'm not saying that it's okay to kill people. But the bullshit that people have been fed is just unbelievable. And people have taken it hook, line, and sinker because that's, I guess, what they want to believe, right? So that is the end of chapter 2 at this point in time. We move on to chapter 3, and that's some zany headlines typically, or just headlines make you shake your head, or comical stuff, humorous memes, all that kind of stuff. My philosophy is it's pretty easy to get black pilled. There's so much negative stuff out there, and instead of leaving people with a cynical mindset, I'd rather leave people with at least a smile on their face, as opposed to that. So before we get into that, I want to give a shameless plug here, which, by the way, we don't get paid anything by Black Forest. This supplement right here, NMN, they claim it's an anti-aging product. The FDA is going after them, trying to make it so it's prescription only because it works that good. I don't know if it's anti-aging, but what I can tell you is I'm constantly on the hunt looking for stuff that increases my energy level. I'm 55 years old. I've had 32 surgeries under general anesthesia, been in countless wrecks, pretty beat up over all the years. And if I can find anything that improves my energy level, it's a winner, which here's another one. So I don't get paid by these guys either. They were kind enough to send me this product a few months ago, branched chain amino acids. Number one, it passed the taste test. Doesn't taste like shit. Most BCAAs taste like shit. And the next part is that this absolutely increases your energy level. If you are drinking sodas and sweet teas and you stop doing that and start using this type of product, this product's the best of the best, though, from what I've tried. I can tell you right now, within 24 hours, your energy level's going up. And then another thing that was brought to my attention by my buddy Brad Wozni are these frequency patches. This is just one of many that are made by this company, LifeWave. I've been taking these now, I've used them 12 hours a day for 3 weeks. I did an experiment 2 days ago, thought I'm going to skip it. And I could tell that my energy level had plummeted from what it had been up until that point in time. So take it for whatever it's worth. But I'm calling that my current energy stack. Always seeking how to increase my energy level so I can work more hours, which is a lot of hours, put it that way. All right. So let's get on to some of the funnier stuff here. So this one from the Babylon Bee. Venezuelan gang wiped out after attempting to take over Buc-ee's. So for those of you not familiar with Buc-ee's, these are the largest gas stations and convenience stores in the entire world. That is just absolutely hilarious. Of course, from Texas, and everything's bigger in Texas, right? So that's pretty comical that the TDA would try to take over a Buc-ee's. Of course, it's a joke. It's a satire. All right, next one up. This woman speaks for all of us. Mr. Prime Minister, please get the F out of BC. You suck. So this is Justin Trudeau. He has multiple ski resorts close to Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada. And he's constantly lecturing people on their carbon footprint. So what's he do? He jumps on a plane and flies all the way to the West Coast to go skiing in British Columbia. And this is how he was greeted.
Mr. Prime Minister. Yeah. Please get the fuck out of BC.
Have a wonderful day, man.
Yeah, you suck.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Kudos to her for that one. That was really good. All right, moving on to the next one. This is from the fuck around and find out department.
Fecha bem a porta do carro do papai.
Calma aí.
I think you all know how to fix that. I don't know about y'all, but the father laughing like that's kind of disturbing. All right, moving on to the next one. Oh my God, this one is hilarious. So incredible scooter chase. This will blow you away. Unbelievable hilarity here. You got to give props to the guy on the scooter. Tell me that wasn't just absolutely hilarious. All right, moving on to the next one. This is pretty comical as well. Fuds hate seeing someone train. So anybody who spent any time at ranges knows exactly who that guy is. And if you give them an RSO status, range safety officer status, they usually power trip in the wrong way. All right, this one is funny as all get out.
Do you think that this guy is a Democrat or a Republican?
He looks like a faggot.
Why?
Just the way he is acting and like his mannerisms, the way he looks, like I can just tell he supports Biden.
Do you think?
So for those of you who don't know who that is, that's Harry Sissons, born in Singapore. I think out of his 20 some odd years of life, he's only spent a couple years here in America, gets paid hundreds of thousands of dollars by the Democrats, posts all kinds of just stupid shit all over X and other social medias. That chick saying that is too freaking funny. Now, with that being said, on the same kind of topic, this is not funny. And this shit is going to be a big part of our downfall. Was all the testosterone deleted from boys nowadays? You'd get beat up for this when I was a kid.
I just came back from Sephora, so here's a little haul for you guys. First thing I got was the Summer Fridays lip balm in shade Pink Sugar, I think. I was smelling it on the way back home. Guys, it smells so good. Guys, the lady was so nice there, and she gave me so many samples of the Laneige like water bank moisturizer and a bunch of hair oils. Last thing I got was the Bella Flor cream from Sol de Janeiro. This one smells so good. I have it in the spray, and I needed to get it in the lotion because it's really good. Bye, guys. Follow me.
Wow. I don't know what else I can say to that. Y'all know where I stand. Okay, so from the Department of Insanity here, queer automotive educator explains why self-driving taxis are fatophobic.
Too fat to safely ride in a Waymo, and you might be too. It's your favorite queer automotive educator, and recently, my wife and I took our first spin in the self-driving rideshare service. I had concerns, but was cautiously optimistic about the experience. After loading up our suitcases and getting comfortable, I buckled my seatbelt. No way I was riding in a futuristic self-driving machine without it. And bam, the seatbelt clicked and immediately locked. Okay, it happens. Let me try again. Removing my seatbelt instantly made the car scream at me. But I had to. The seatbelt locked yet again almost instantly. Damn it. And before you think I'm the problem, we're just too damn fat for this car, the seatbelt locked on my smaller wife too. Fat people deserve a safe, comfortable ride just like anyone else. Waymo, you need to provide seatbelt extenders.
All right, I could roll that for quite some time, but I'm going to reserve comment for the time being. It's time to optimize American education. I alluded to this earlier. I've shown similar graphs to this in the past. So the red line since the year 2000 is the increase in administrative staff in our schooling system, public schools. So 95%. The yellow line is principals and assistants to the principal, 39%. The green line is teachers plus 10%. And the blue line is the number of students plus 5%. So the 95 and the 39% are way, way out of whack. And we're spending all this money on administrative, bureaucratic bullshit overhead. And yet our students are doing worse and worse every year. So we need a Department of Government Efficiency to all levels of government to knock some of this shit out. All right. Next one. And I'm pretty sure this was in Florida, by the way. Everything crazy tends to happen here. All right. Woman attacks Chipotle workers behind counter to scoop her own bowl. Just want to make sure it's just one video. Make sure you listen to her, the person accompanying her, what they have to say in the background.
Just let her make her food.
Just let her make her food.
Get her food, please. Like, really, like, just let her get her food. Just let her. Thank you.
Ooh. I don't know what to say to that other than WTF. All right, moving on to the next one here. This is pretty brilliant on the part of Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly whammies Bill Maher, and he folds.
Everything changed.
So just walk me through it. So Trump has Obama to thank for his economy, but Biden can't thank Trump for anything.
Okay. Let's get off this. Because it's not what I really want.
It's the motherfucking Eagle Double G.
Snoop Dogg!
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the next one here. Sometimes dreams come true. Actually, let me back this up at the beginning because this is really good. That is just awesome. That is exactly the way that young men should be raised. That's pretty awesome parenting. All right, next one up. Over 50% of liberal white women under 30 have a mental health issue. Are we worried yet? So this seems to be coming up on an almost daily basis where there's one study or one article or one expert after another attesting to this. Golly, I hate to be a guy under 30 knowing that over 50% of the girls in your age bracket are batshit insane. All right, moving on to the next one. This is kind of comical. Should we be worried that 2025 begins with WTF? Good observation on somebody's part. And next one up. Tom Cotton. War on crime must begin with recalling and removing every last Soros district attorney. So this can't happen soon enough. These are people, you know, like Elvin Bragg, that have just, they're out of control and doing stupid shit at the bequest of the left and the globalists and the NWO. And this guy's polluting our country with this stuff and has been doing it for years. It's unforgivable, essentially. All right, next one up. Pretty tired of hearing white people were immigrants too. No, motherfucker. When we got here, it was barren land. There was no New York City. There was no electricity or cars with highways or welfare programs. My ancestors were settlers. Hard to disagree with that. Next one's pretty disturbing. People in the 1980s, people in 2024. What the hell did we do to our health? So I went to a 4A high school, 2,000 students. I believe I've mentioned it before in our podcast. 2 obese people, and that was it, the entire school. Kathy Oliphant, no, I'm not making the name up, and Kyle Brooks. And both of them have passed away because of health complications. But again, the rest of us who went to school in the 80s look like the left side here. And moving on to the next one. I always visit islands where hundreds of children are being trafficked, but when I do go, I go 37 times. I don't always, pardon me. When I do go, I go 37 times. You have to wonder, did he request a special meeting with Donald Trump to try and curry favor with him this week because he knows that the hammer's fixing to drop? I mean, he sent a lot of dark money to Kamala's campaign, and it got, as per usual, the truth came out, but he was also joined at the hip with Jeffrey Epstein. So it'll be interesting to hear what comes out of that. All right, next one up. People don't know how much bigger 1 billion is than 1 million. 1 million seconds is about 11 days. 1 billion seconds is about 31.5 years. What a great way of, you know, providing some relativity to a million versus a billion. Pretty big deal. All right, next one up. Celebrities. If Trump gets elected, I'm moving to Canada. Trump, I'm going to make Canada the 51st state. Oh, I could just see them friggin' how they're reacting to that. Here we go for people in my age category, 50s. Trying to ring in the new year, me at 9:59 p.m. I can honestly admit that has happened to me before. Oh, and next one, the word on inflation. Inflation has gotten so bad, it now takes 2 Karens to speak to the manager. Oh, that's awesome. All right. On the not so funny side, these are the number of illegal aliens or Title 8 encounters you've got Obama first, then Trump, then you got Biden, Harris, with, the traitor Mayorkas throwing our southern border wide open. Absolutely disgusting. All right. I've lived through all of this. So 1970s, the new ice age, 1980s, acid rain, 1990s, ozone depletion, 2000s, global warming. Then they had to switch to climate change since the globe was no longer warming. That's 40 years of shameless and baseless fear-mongering to siphon off billions of dollars from taxpayers, expand government power, and advance the left's agenda. Climate hoax. Boy, howdy, ain't that the truth? For anybody who's interested in my opinion on it, as far as I'm concerned, the whole climate change, carbon dioxide thing is to create this threat, this boogeyman that threatens to end the world, and that the only way that we're going to save the world is to have one world government and everybody behind that one world government supporting it, so we can take on this boogeyman and save the planet, when in reality it's all just it couldn't be more bullshit. All right, so that is the end of chapter 3. Gonna play a short 30-second ad from our friends at Flex Industries, and then I'll tell you a little bit more on this product.
AK Flex. AK Flex. The crazy part about this thing, it can fit in all platforms. This right here is in a 9mm. We running in the 7.62, 5.45, short, even in the Draco, the long 16-inch. AK Flex, baby.
So Flex Industries are one of our new sponsors. We don't get paid any affiliate money, but if you go to flexindustries.com and use the code SD17, they make a whole bunch of really badass, completely legal triggers. And that trigger, the AK Flex, is going to be released imminently. The performance level is very similar to the forced reset triggers in the AR platform. They've also got a pretty kick-ass G Flex trigger for the Glocks, hence the G. And unlike a Glock switch, it's not illegal. Very high rate of fire, though. And I'm pretty stoked because I'm a gun guy, right? So I've got some products coming from them that I'll get to go to the range and shoot it. And anytime that happens, puts a big smile on my face. All right. So homework wise, going all the way back to the topic that we opened with tonight, the H1B visa abuse. What can our audience do in light of this? So number one, you can vocally support America First politicians and public figures and speak out against those who are not America First. This silent majority shit has got us in a world of hurt, and we've got to stop being like that. As libertarians, lowercase l, it's easy to say, I don't care what y'all do. As long as it doesn't affect me, doesn't hurt anybody else, do whatever you want. That strategy has not worked, and we've got to start speaking up. Number two, write to your congressional reps. There's a link in the brief for govtrack.us. You'll get all the contact info for your Congress rep, as well as your senators, and demand that they work towards limiting H1B visa abuses or trash the entire program. And let's just go with O visas, which has plenty of contingencies for skilled workers. And the third piece of homework is help spread the truth by sharing Survival Dispatch news on your socials. Elon stirred up quite a hornet's nest with the mainstream media when he said people like SDN are essentially the media now, and he's right. As I mentioned earlier, follow the money. Well, you can follow the money. We don't have a dog in this hunt. We are not paid off by big pharma, big tech, big brother, big media, any of that stuff. So we don't stand anything to gain other than hopefully restoring our nation and saving our nation when we broadcast the news and it's truthful. Quick reminder, you can go to patreon.com/survival dispatch, sign up for free. At least 50% of the content is available to free members. Tonight's brief, for example, is 29 pages long, and you can download it for free. It's kind of two purposes: a sit rep situation report, daily sit rep, and brief that we use for our live episodes, which is 7 p.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. The other thing, when you pay the $9.99, not only do you get the other 50% of the content, you get an invite to our Signal group. super amount of traffic, super people. It's amazing the intelligence and information that's being shared on there. It was kind of unintended, so I'm really very happy about that. And as I mentioned earlier, at the end of the brief now, there's a restricted section, which has content that we can't put on certain platforms like YouTube, where we keep racking up strikes. They last for 90 days. If you get 3 in 90 days, you're smoked. We've flirted with a couple at a time, and that's about as far as we need to go with that. I've also added a section at the bottom of the sit rep for partner products, companies that we stand behind and endorse, discount links or discount codes for all the basic stuff that you should have on hand as a survivalist / prepper. All right, so we're going to wrap up with the conflicted question of the night. For those of you who are new, there's a company called Conflicted the Game. They've got about 14 decks and a couple board games. We don't get paid by them. We love their questions because it gives you the opportunity to put some thought towards SHTF situations. The deck we're working off right now is the financial collapse deck. So under the guise of helping prevent another economic crash, your federal government wants to outlaw cash and make all money electronic. What are your thoughts on an economy ran on 100% electronic money? So number one, this is coming and every government's going to do it. And the bad news is they're going to do the exact same shit that they've been doing in China, where you'll have a social credit score. Oh, you jaywalked? Oh, your social credit score goes down. Oh, you're a day late on paying your car payment. Your social credit score goes down. And as your social credit score declines, you are limited in what you can do with your money. So in other words, all your social credit score fell below 500. You can't drive your car for the next week, or you can't eat out for the next month, whatever the case may be. It's going to be like absolutely control freakish, and we need to be paying attention to it. However, here's the good news. Whenever governments try to do things like this and constrict things and have such control over their citizens, a parallel economy always springs up. And that's what will happen in light of CBDC, so central bank digital currencies. So it would be a really good move at this particular point in time to invest in precious metals, gold and silver. My angle is a little bit different than other people's. I recommend that you invest in gold coins or silver coins. Reason being is that even if the shit doesn't hit the fan, anything that's minted like that typically ends up worth more than what the weight of the precious metal is. It's the ROI is better on minted coins than it is on just like a block of precious metals, gold, silver, or whatever. The other thing is it's really easy to get your head wrapped around as far as, a parallel economy and exchanging this gold coin, for whatever, for food, livestock, bullets, vices, which is another thing you should stock up on. If we end up in a parallel economy because of CBDCs, the more vices you have on hand, alcohol and cigarettes in particular, they will make great bartering items. And because people always want cigarettes and they'll always want to get drunk. So, and prohibition bore that out. So those are my thoughts on digital currencies. I don't like them. They're going to be used to control people, and you can protect yourself from that by acquiring these other things. Now, here's the deal. If you don't have the means right now to go out and buy gold coins and silver coins, I get it. Okay. But what you can do is acquire skills that other people are going to need, where you can trade your skill, your work for something when you need it. So if it comes down to, like, if you had people, let's say they have no hands-on skills with anything, and they don't have anything worth trading, whether it be precious metals, vices, or anything else, those people are shit out of luck. They're going to be in serious trouble. But if you can do something with your hands, and if you can potentially add, tangible goods to that, you'll be in much better condition when CBDCs get rolled out, and when they do things like you get up in the morning, you go to get in your car and you go to start your car and you get a message saying, oh, sorry, you voted for Donald Trump, and therefore we had to knock 100 points off your social credit score, and you're not allowed to drive your car, and we'll tell you when you can maybe drive it again. That's the direction that social credit scores and digital currencies are going. So obviously not a good deal. Other than that, we're going to end tonight with another Dilly Meme Team video specific to recruiting for the U.S. Marines. And all of y'all who hang with us have probably noticed we've had some really great videos to close out episodes of SDN for the past few weeks, and going to try to keep that up as long as we can continue to find some badass videos like Brendan Dilly cranks out. But other than that, we'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And God bless America.
Purpose. Everyone talks about having a purpose. Become a businessman, make a bunch of money, become a scientist and discover the cure for cancer. Such lofty goals put before us, it's overwhelming. How can you find the path to fulfilling your purpose when you're just struggling day to day? You hear on the news that the cost of living is going up. New families can't afford the American dream of owning their own home. And you look around your hometown and you see everyone's struggling to survive. So what's your purpose, and how do you find it? America's on the path to becoming a great nation again. How can you grab on and ride that wave of success? How can you make a difference? How can you find your purpose?